Call this meeting to order. Call the roll.
Commissioner Bailey.
Here.
Commissioner Bunting.
Present.
Commissioner Gay.
Here.
Commissioner Owens.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here. George, want to lead us in prayer?
Oh, yes, please. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day that you've given to us, and we just pray and thank you for all things. We ask you to be with us tonight as we deliberate for the folks of Gratiot County. For it's in the name we pray. Amen.
Amen. With the pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
For the agenda.
Moved and supported, all in favor? Opposed? Brief public comment, the city of Ithaca. You're up, James.
Well, as you can see behind you, you have one of our City of Ithaca flags, and city staff has worked hard, and we have rebranded the City of Ithaca logo. So we would like to present to you our new flag. You want to stretch it out for me? Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, wow, nice. That's
very nice. Yeah.
would like to replace, we would love for you to hang this flag.
We'll have one of our guys take it down,
Absolutely.
and I'll be happy to bring it over to you.
Oh, sure.
Lower it down just a little bit.
So
Thank you, looks nice. Looks good.
Thank you.
appreciate
I
Appreciate
it.
just switched out.
Appreciate it, yeah. Yeah.
Any other comments? Anybody online?
Oh, Jackson.
Nope, there's not anybody connected in right now.
He did real good. No. Oh, he's okay. Yeah, good.
All right, move to the consent calendar. Anything anybody want pulled out of that?
Move to approve. Support.
Been moved to approve the consideration of the consent calendar. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Administrators report.
All right, got a quick report tonight. We have hired a new Veterans Affairs Director. He will be starting on October 23rd. Before his start date, he will begin training and for the BSO accreditation. His name is Monty Malik, and he is currently the Carson City Hospital Director. So just happened to be good timing for a transition, and veterans helping or working with veterans is a passion of his, and so we will be welcoming him next month. We have a snow removal contract that is out for bid currently. Anybody who would like to bid can find the link on our website and they can submit it through there. We had our first county potluck that was headed by our new community affairs team last week. Many of you showed up and it was absolutely delicious. It is something that we will continue. I do believe on a monthly basis. It was such a big hit that we actually moved 2 new tables down there to help accommodate for the dishes and the people. For about a month now, our equalization department has been working remotely except for the position that we share with the city of Elma, which is located at the city of Elma City Hall. We're having very good feedback from the staff. Currently, they are about 4 weeks ahead of schedule on assessing parcels throughout the county, primarily attributed to the fact that they don't have an office to sit in and they are driving around assessing parcels nonstop. if you peek your head down into that equalization, the former equalization wing, you will see that Deandra from Community Development is currently painting the offices. Our blight permits, soil erosion and zoning are going to be moving back into the courthouse for a couple of reasons, primarily for safety. Quite frequently, one staff person is left alone in the building across the road. And they do work with a lot of their customers are unhappy people, specifically people that we're pursuing for blight. And frequently, when our residents go in there, the door is locked for those safety purposes. Bringing them back to the courthouse will require residents to go through the screening, the security. We won't have locked doors. So for some time, that building will be vacant while we make a decision what we're going to do with it. Currently, I do not have any plans for that building. So we will have discussions. We'll talk about if there's a need for it, or we will talk about putting it back on the market. And lastly, our German delegation from Landkreis Ludwigslust Parcham has landed, and they on Friday night. We spent time welcoming them at Sarah Villa in Elma. Friday evening, Saturday, they attended a Elma Scots college football game where George was working on the field. Afterwards, they came over to my brother-in-law's, Todd and Devin Hindle, for a barbecue by the pool. It was a scheduled 3-hour barbecue that lasted about 6.5 hours. A good German themed party. We even got German music playing on the YouTube. So Sunday we visited Auburn Hills at Great Lakes Crossing, went to the aquarium. Monday, Sheila was with them on Monday. They visited the Uncle John Cider Mill, went out to the eat at their favorite restaurant, the Texas Roadhouse, for a good old American steak. And today they spent time touring various areas, such as schools, businesses. They were at the courthouse for a little bit. Tonight at 7 p.m., there is a catered dinner at the RESD. Everybody here is welcome to head over there afterwards. I mean, everybody who is here is welcome to do that. It is at 7 o'clock. They're a great group of people. I've really enjoyed the time that I've had with them. And that concludes my my report.
Any questions for Chris?
What's the name of the guy that's the new veteran of affairs?
Monty Malik.
Monty
Malik.
Malik. Okay.
Commissioner committee reports. Dave?
I went to the Northern Michigan County Commissioners Association in Roscommon. And it wasn't any big issue there, but one of the counties, and I don't remember which one, had recently hired a grant writer. And he hired him on a commission basis. And they had already got more than enough grants to pay this guy's wages. Different idea. That's it.
Dan?
I only had one meeting at Michigan Works. And I apologize, it's been a busy time, but I will turn in some paperwork so all of you can read, what's going on, the latest.
Okay. George?
Attended Breckenridge Village meeting, and they're getting ready now to actually start their pavilion that they've received ARPA money for. That's supposed to be started here in the middle of September, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. And I also attended, along with Tim, the Board of Health meeting. And just things that were going on normal there. There wasn't anything out of different. So other than that, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as George says, I attended the Board of Health meeting in St. John's for Clinton County. There's six of us. There's two representatives for Clinton and Mount Calm and Gratiot County. The two representatives for Mount Calm County weren't there, but I guess we had enough for a quorum. The doctor there gave a sheet on wild animal bites, including rabies, and cautioned not to approach a wild animal that's vulnerable, particularly babies. Don't stick your finger in their mouth.
Oh.
So who's that?
I attended Fulton Township. They're doing some cemetery ordinance updates. Talked to some folks, and actually they're close to putting the deal together with Dollar General for out on 57. They hope to have a contract signed in a couple of weeks. So that's moving along. They're going to start extending the sewer after the holidays. So they had some earth equipment out there over the weekend, I know, and getting ready to extend sewer systems out to the front of the road out there where we be given the funds to do that through ARPA. That's really about it. Any questions of anybody or anything?
Can I add one more thing real quick?
Yeah.
There had been some confusion about with our equalization department going remote, how to get a hold of them if we need them. They do answer their emails very quickly, and the listed numbers that they have for their offices do forward directly to their cell phones. So anybody does need to get a hold of them. All their listed numbers are still active. Thank you.
Ready? New business, MSU extension, Dave? Or Bill, excuse me, Dave.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The agreement for services is substantially the same as last year, with the difference being in the numbers. But again, I'll just give a quick summation of what that does. It just lays forth the terms for which MSU Extension provides the county with services under all four of the institutes in MSU Extension, including agriculture and agribusiness, children and youth development, which includes 4-H, Health and Nutrition Institute, and then the Community Food and Environment Institute. So services in regard to all those four institutes, as well as programming throughout. And then in exchange for that, the county provides 1/3 of the funds collected under the millage that's joint with Greater Gratiot. And those funds then are used to pay an assessment, which is $55,149. So that's up 3% from last year. And then also an additional 0.5 of 4-H coordination in the assessment includes 1/2. So that's an additional $35,368. Then a full-time secretary, which is MSU paid. And that's one of the changes we made last year, if you'll recall. And that's $70,735. I think the total for those assessments is 61,000, 162 maybe, 161,252. So those are the general assessments to paid for consultants. There are additional dollars that are paid in regard to our regular operating of that office. Those are in the budget, but even estimated numbers there along with those assessments is less than the amount that's going to be 1/3 of the projected millage funds. And then as normal conditions set forth as far as internet, office space, all that good stuff. Any questions on the agreement?
I move that we sign the memorandum of agreement.
Will support it. Any discussion? I just have a question. Really, the excess funds basically is because of the SEVs going up because of the windmills, right? When we're gathering more funds. Right.
And there's opportunities there to add staff. We're actually adding a new community nutrition instructor as soon as I can get it posted. So let's get back.
A few years back, I think Michigan State Extension had a diabetes class, for diabetics.
Right.
And you also gave them receipts for a farmer's market.
Right.
To shop there. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, in fact, the community nutrition instructor did that with those market, it's mainly for seniors that were at Project Fresh. That's right. And those, we've got the community nutrition instructor coming. The diabetes is under the health and nutrition under health. And we actually have Holly Torre in the office. She's out on medical leave right now, but she and her team do diabetes instruction still, as well as other classes that are health related. So they're still doing those and also doing behavioral health as well.
I think it's good because a lot of people have diabetes.
I have a question for you. What about, I know you are into the food and the stuff, but what about all of I see a lot of homeless people with blankets around them and backpacks. How are they being fed now? Can they go through the churches or the homeless shelter, or how is that working out?
Well, any number of methods, as you stated. I will say, as far as extension services involved, and we provide education. It's not that we're removed from that subject area. In fact, I attended a poverty simulation. I don't know if any of you have ever participated in a poverty simulation, but that was put on by one of our other teams that does food councils, and that's out of our Community Food and Environment Institute. And those food councils help to connect local resources to agencies like food banks that would feed homeless. And some of those things is like, all right, well, what do you do if you're at the end of a market and you've got a bunch of heads of lettuce that haven't sold? Are there connections that can be made so that they can go to a local shelter? So a lot of that work is done in tandem with other agencies. We certainly get involved with that where there's a need and where we're not stepping in someone else's territory.
Mm-hmm. The reason I ask, I see a lot now of people, like a lot of men. I haven't seen a lot of women, but just walking around. One guy I saw, he had a blanket around him, and it must have slept out someplace over the night. And I just wondered, when they get up, where do they go? Where do these people go to eat and go to the bathroom or take a shower or whatever? I didn't know if you were involved in anything like that either.
Not a specific, but it certainly is more of a issue even in smaller areas, smaller towns than you would think.
So you guys don't usually get in that part of it.
Just on the food council side of things.
Oh, okay, I just wondered. Thanks.
It moved and supported to sign the 2024 memorandum agreement with MSU. Any questions about it? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sheila, I think you're doing a resolution.
Good evening, everybody. So we have put together a resolution to thank our German guests. And so we will ask if this passes that you will each sign it, and that will be presented to them this evening at our formal dinner. So you should have a copy of it at your desk. It is dated with today's date and states, whereas Gratiot County entered into a sister county partnership with Ludwigslust Parchim, Germany on November 18th of 1997. And whereas Gratiot County has exchanged valuable knowledge with the exchange in sectors including government, education, economic development, and agriculture. And whereas the relationship that has been formed over the years has benefited both of our nations through collaboration and the sharing of ideas. Whereas Gratiot County formally shares its gratitude to Christopher Peschka for 25 years of service in this partnership. Whereas Gratiot County looks forward to the continuation and growth of the German delegation exchange in the future. And now, therefore, let it be resolved that the citizens of Gratiot County express our appreciation for our continued support and participation of our sister county. And further, we look forward to the exchange of ideas and collaborative efforts to that benefit the citizens of both of our countries in the future.
Thank you. So we'll get that signed, or you need a motion on that?
I make a motion that we accept the resolution.
Second.
Or
Moved and supported to sign this resolution for the German exchange program. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, we'll have that. You have like an official, we're getting money, you have like an official copy or something?
Angie's gonna help us with that.
Okay. Alrighty. Entryway mat contract.
Well, for the last 5 years, we have contracted with Mowers in order to change out and clean our entry mats at various outbuildings in the courthouse. We put it on RFP to see who would provide us that service going forward in the future. I laid out the cost for 4 companies that replied. I was quite shocked by the difference in pricing. The lowest being Syntez at $61.79 a month. The highest being Mowers at $139.81 a month is what we're currently being charged. Administration recommends that we would go with the contract with Syntez, and that would be a 60-month contract. We have worked in several of the outbuildings that did not participate in the general contract before to help bring the cost down and to share the costs amongst the different buildings such as COA, central dispatch, et cetera. So if you have any questions on any of that, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm hoping that I can get a motion to enter into a contract with Syntez.
So they only do 2 of our buildings, and then the other buildings have their own little contracts,
A lot of them, yes. Yep.
and they're paid for by,
Each individual fund. So COA has their own, village, so they have their own contract. It was, 10 years ago, departments went out and made their own
Yeah, yeah.
contracts. That's something that Tracy really
yeah, we
had to
paid for
drive
that, yeah.
home to centralize a lot of services. So this is just
So did we talk to them about looking at this?
the other departments. Yes, we did.
And they're not,
They are.
so they are.
Yes, they are.
So we get this quote, how do we get another deal with it? You gotta go do 60 months with Syntez, and so we rebid this in 2 months.
No, they would be added on in this contract.
But do we know how much it costs for them? Did we just have a look at everything? Did we have a look at everything to see what it
We
was?
did, yes. We have individual pricing for each.
Utility.
So the mats that you see out there right now might
Yep.
be $20 a piece through Mowers, but Cintas is gonna do it for 12.
So
So,
for $12, we get the same kind of mat in another building, they're gonna put it in
Yes.
there for 12,
yes,
and then that organization will pay it.
yes.
Yeah, I think it's a good deal, as long as we look at everybody.
Make a motion that we accept Centos as the vendor for the rugs and support. Sure good.
Moved and supported to accept Cintas bid for the mats for our buildings. Any questions? All in favor?
I,
Motion carries. No opposed, I hope. All right, Board of Canvassers, consideration to appoint. That we're at,
2 people, yeah.
2 people.
So
That you-
Kelly Whitford has been on the board for, I would say, 3 years, and Susan Hunter has been on the board for 1 year. They both want to continue to serve as Board of Canvas. The chairs did reach out to them to make sure that they wanted to, and they've had communicated back to me that that's still their desire to have those people sit on the Board of Canvas.
That's a reappointment. I'd make a motion that we go ahead with those reappointments.
support.
Moved and supported to appoint Kelly Whitford as the Republican and Susan Hunter as the Democrat to the Board of Canvassers. Any questions? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Elected official salaries. The sheet in here, I think.
You'll see, you do have this chart, which has got the current elected salaries. 2 years ago, Matt, would you be able to share that, please? I just sent you a link.
Sure. Hold on one second.
Thank you. 3 years ago, I believe we started with having an electeds work group. So we got a group together, everybody talked about where the wages were, where they should be, and came up with kind of a system. Last year, as the board, you decided that rather than reevaluating each individual position, that you just did a bump to all of the electeds. What I have prepared for you today is some information so that you can tell me what additional information you need to be able to make a decision when it comes to the elected salaries. So at the top, were you able to find it, Matt?
Yep, I'm sharing it right now.
Okay, thank you. All right. So at the top in the bold is what the current salary is as of October 1st of 2022. What I've provided you is if you do a 1% increase, a 1.5, a 2, a 2.5, or a 3% increase. If again, you were to choose to do an across the board adjustment. You will see at the bottom, there is a note that our GELC, TPOAM, and our non-union will all go up 2.5% on October 1st. And that is a decision you made as a board that everybody is going to be moved up by that 2.5%. So that is why I gave you the numbers that I did. As a side note or an asterisk, I will say that with our negotiations with our COAM contract, all of our command staff will be moving up 9%, which is going to push into the sheriff's salary. So you will also need to decide what you want to do with that, or if you are going to do across the board. So what I ask of you, commissioners, is what information do you need from me to be able to make a decision at the next meeting?
Are we doing a lump sum pay also for the courthouse staff? Is there 1% lump sum?
It's a 1.5% lump sum, yes.
So there's a total of 4% compensation?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to know anyone who is making more than the sheriff. I think IT is making more than him, isn't, are they? Or
No.
I thought he was, is he now?
No,
Just one.
The prosecutor and the judges and Jennifer Wood. I think.
Somebody,
Chris.
I thought somebody had a raise last time and they were making more than the sheriff.
Moved them up.
No.
What
So
was the sheriff's raise last year? That might answer her question.
The sheriff got an 11% increase last year.
My question is, when you say these 4 or 7 staff guys, these officers or whatever, they move into there, is that just on their regular time? Or is that what, did that include any overtime or anything?
No, that's just based on hours.
They all get the same benefits. Well, I think we probably need to see those numbers, I would think.
I think the top lieutenant's going to be pushing towards 83,000, 82 to 83. And historically, we've maintained a 5% difference between the undersheriff and the top lieutenant. And then I forget what sheriff, what's the percentage that's been maintained?
Well, between the undersheriff and the sheriff.
That's historically what the structure has been.
So the officers are gonna make 83.
The top lieutenant, I believe there's only 1 or 2 that are at that level. This is the command unit. The command unit only has 4 or 5 officers. 6 officers. Okay. Couple sergeants and a couple lieutenants.
One sergeant, 2 lieutenants. So you would like the top, you would like what the top officer would be at,
Looks like
correct?
87 if he's gonna be there, but so you're saying that from this top officer to the sheriff, it's customarily been 12% difference?
The road lieutenant, the undersheriff is 5% over that, and then the sheriff has been 12% over the undersheriff.
Or the undersheriff, so it's really 17%.
Over the road
That's top.
lieutenant, yes,
That's the way it is now?
yes.
a 17% difference than if we given him 5%. How does he get so close to you? I mean, there's a 17% spread.
This year. Hasn't got it yet.
It starts
As of
October
October
1st.
first, you'll get a 9% raise.
So he's gonna move real close to the undersheriff or over the undersheriff, the way it is.
So it'll be
currently.
like 3%.
That was negotiated with their union.
But not for the undersheriff.
I just think we need to look at those numbers.
Yep, okay, I will provide those at the next
The
meeting.
cut they're gonna get
Mhm.
and where we're at.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you need from me?
Yes, basically the other numbers really what they are what they are, I guess. I don't know if you're gonna adjust one differently or.
Well, last year we gave them the same percentage we did to staff, the elected officials. And I would think that we would continue that same to keep that consistent.
And if that's the case, then it would, as Chris mentioned, it would be the 2.5%. And then you would want to talk about if you would do the lump sum to get that to the 4%, or if you want to do just 4% to their salary. So I can provide what 4% would look like as well at the next meeting, if you'd like. Because I'd rather you have too much information than not enough.
I would like to talk to you also about the clerks. It seems like, especially in the last 10 years, that our clerk is like, now we have 9 days of voting.
Mhm.
So that she's gonna have to be here till midnight or whatever for 9 days. How does that work? I guess I don't know.
We won't be here for 9 days. It's adding an extra precinct that I would be responsible to run.
And when we did have the group, when we did have the meetings, it was clerk versus clerk. We were comparing clerk to clerk to clerk. So her wage theoretically should be in line with the other clerks.
The clerks here, you mean in the building?
No.
Other county.
The elected officials.
Okay, but are you talking about clerks from other counties or clerks?
Yes, I'm talking about county clerks.
My clerks, okay.
Mhm.
So it's pretty much in line with that.
Correct.
What it is today, you mean? It's the 65,000.
Correct. So we compiled all of our collective information, provided it to you guys. You chose that we were going to drop the high, drop the low, and make an average of the two. We did that for 2 years. Then last year, you chose to just do an overall raise. And so that's what I'm asking, what you would like information for.
So you look at 4%, you look at this 2.5, and so then the other folks are getting a check for 1.5%.
Correct.
So one-time payout or whatever year. And so everybody that got the 2.5 will get the one. I mean, you're,
Almost everybody, yes.
I guess I'd like to see a 4% increase on there, and then I'd like to see where we're at with these road people in the.
Perfect. I will have that for you.
Anything else we should be looking at on there, Mike?
The only thing is the road and the command get the bonus check. The sheriff does not, that's why you got a 12%, yeah.
When we lay it out, we'll have total compensation.
Yes.
It'll include all
Okay.
of that, so it'll be
All right.
clear to you what they make for salary, here's what they get for their holiday, and so on.
Do you need anything else from me? Okay, otherwise I will have it for you for the next meeting.
Any more?
No. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else on that elected official salary? Anybody?
So it looks like there may have been some miscommunication between Angie and myself. At some point, I would like to give an update on the budget. And I see that it's not on the agenda. How can we rectify that?
Get it to unfinished.
Old business.
I mean, is it possible to do it after the airport authority meeting so that?
Yeah.
this gentleman can
Yeah, let's move on and get
take
to
off.
We'll do it right after, we'll ask for public, well, we'll do it before public comment, right at the airport. We'll put it L1.
Thank you.
Any other, or you can do it now, unfinished business, or you want to do it afterwards? You can take a little bit of time.
Yeah, this could take a little bit of time.
Okay, let's move right to the airport.
I'd make a motion that we suspend the regular course of business and go into the airport authority meeting.
Support.
Moving and supported to go into the airport authority meeting. This is our first one. We have,
Much of an agenda.
no, not much in the agenda. I will brief public comment.
Got a vote.
Oh. Last favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, call the order of this airport authority meeting. Brief public comment. Anybody have any comments beforehand? So we have some meeting dates in here. They're gonna be, my understanding is on the short meeting, on the short number of meetings. I have meeting dates here. You guys okay with me? Did you guys see the meeting dates I had for some?
I saw them in there, but where they're at right now.
Would it be prudent,
November and January.
yeah, would it be prudent to put in there and any meeting, how would you want to say that? When it's necessary, meetings when necessary, because starting this thing up, we may have to have one or two or three getting it going, you know what I'm saying?
You probably could add it to the agenda like we were gonna do it the next 2 weeks from now. We could add it to the agenda or whatever, when we have to post it.
You would want.
Yeah, it's a public meeting, you have to post it.
We can just
For
add
the
it.
airport.
But if
When you
we,
posted the agenda for the next meeting, like say in 2 weeks, we can post it for the airport, we're gonna be special. or-
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have to take an ad on the paper.
No.
no, but if we put it, I think if we put an addendum in there and any meeting that we deem necessary or how you want to word that, but that lets us without having to go through a whole bunch of hoops to do things. But I think that getting started here, we may have to have more meetings than what we would normally do. After it gets smoothed out, I wouldn't plan
So
on.
we had the dates as, it's just our Monday, the short meeting without it's this Monday here and then a month from now on this Monday, the second meeting or Monday. They had them planned out till January. The advisory board, have we gotten? We've talked to some folks.
So I have reached out to some people to see if they would consider sitting on an advisory board for the Gratiot Community Airport. And there's a list of people, everyone I talked to did say that they would. But I believe that we need to publicly advertise that there will be openings available. And then I can reach out specifically to these individuals that we had kind of talked about, including but not limited to Jim Wheeler from Economic Development. We talked about possibly George sitting on it, Tim Lambrecht, John Lapine, a representative from the city of Elma, a representative from the city of Ithaca. Who am I missing, George?
Oh,
Kevin Beeson.
you got John Limmerman.
John Lemmerman, I did reach out to him. He showed interest.
What about Kurt Giles and Kevin Beeson?
That's the other thing you want to think about, how big you want this board to be. Will you be
Right,
five,
yeah.
seven? How many's on your council? So, what do you guys have in Ithaca?
7.
So we've got,
Seems like a good number.
and we've just listed off 9 individuals.
Yeah.
So once we do receive those applications, then and it's possible someone may not want to do it. They may say yes over the phone or in person
Yeah.
and then decide.
They can all have a chance to put in an application like everybody else does for every other board.
Should we discuss how many we want to set on that board right now? I think we would know.
All right. I agree with you. 7 is a good number.
Yep.
Good voting number and a good dissent number.
We have 7 on the advisory board.
You want to add on to that, then maybe we can advertise it, get it out there immediately.
Yeah. Advertise it however you normally do.
Yeah.
It's been moved and supported to set the number of advisory board people to 7. And we're gonna advertise for seats open as soon as possible.
So do you want to have your first meeting in October, the first meeting in October? You don't want to wait till November, do you?
For the advisory?
No, I think we should meet it and we should know about what we have. I mean, when would you put something in the papers?
I will have something in the paper I can by next Thursday to give them a deadline of that following Thursday.
When we put it on our website, stuff like that too.
Can,
Definitely.
Yeah, so we'll want to get the word out as best we can. And
try to have it for the first meeting in October.
yeah,
Because there could definitely be some candidates out there that we're not
we would need to
thinking
know,
about.
yeah. These are folks who showed interest coming along the way and. Alrighty, so we've had this motion to set it at 7 and try to get them in by October 1. We'll try to decide on some of this on the next October meeting. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else for the airport? You guys got anything?
So
Yeah, they got something to talk.
they have a few expenditures that Eric McDonald would like to bring to the board just to advise us of some of the things that are breaking down, need to be replaced.
Yeah. The first one there, it's on top there, George has there. It's a material request and labor from J Rank Electrical. In Mount Pleasant, this is for the PAPI lights out at the 927 runway, which is the east-west runway, the mile-long runway. Just to give the board some background on what this stuff is. The PAPI light, PI, is a precision approach path indicator. Those were installed in 2012 with the help of entitlement dollars. And they replaced what is called a VASI, and that stands for Visual Approach Slope Indicator. So that was the old technology. The PAPIs were the new technology. So we switched into these. Doesn't feel like 2012 is old, but I've been told these are the older versions of the new PAPI system. So it's taken a while to even find the parts and things to replace what's on your sheet here. We've been waiting probably 3 months to try to get these repaired. So basically what the airport manager has to do is put a note amount to incoming aircraft when they click in that, hey, the PAPI lights are not working. So they know what how to approach the runway without the lights. So they know it's going to be a visual as opposed to taking a look at the lights. So we finally got to the parts, a J rank. As you can see, the quote on it for parts and labor is $7,476.18. Airport electricians are hard to come by. They've been really hard to come by since the COVID situation. J rank is reasonably local. They're in Mount Pleasant. They are versed in aeronautic electronics. We've had a tough time really try to find someone else that can do this work. And well, it's not even timely. This, like I said, this has been almost 3 months. We do sign they started doing this, pre-COVID, so 4 years ago, give or take, a airport maintenance agreement with them. And basically what that states is what their rates are. It's not stating that you have to use them for your electronic needs out at the airport, electrical needs at the airport. It's they just won't even call you back if you don't have this with them. So since that time period, we've been signing that with them, and each year it provides what the costs are for labor, overtime, and those sorts of items. One thing that did change in this last year since COVID, and like I said, it's hard to find these folks. They do have a minimum charge now, and that minimum charge is 8 hours. So what we instructed our public works person to do is just try to find if we got some things to do for 8 hours to have them come out and do that. So again, we just wanted to bring us to the board since the authorities now in the county's hands, and to kind of get you up to speed on, this is another thing that's out there that isn't typically known by the general public. We did also have a refrigerator freezer that's at the airport that's used by incoming pilots for providing sodas, that sort of thing, that has stopped working. Our crew to take a look at it. It's not able to be fixed. Do not have a number on a replacement number yet, but I'll get that over to Chris as soon as we get a replacement number, what that would cost. And just to give you, we do have a meeting coming up with MDOT Aeronautics to look at our airport capital improvement plan, which is the spreadsheet with all the projects from starting in 2024 all the way through 2030, and the breakdowns of what we're proposing for that meeting, and the cost estimates from the entitlement dollars, the state dollars that they put toward each project, and then locally here what the authority puts toward each one of those projects. And they're broken out in a way that you only get so much money a year. Right now, basically 150,000, maybe that might jump to 175,000 a year. We did get some extra apportionment, as you see in 2025, that we'll try to use to reconstruct the runway lighting. That's another high priority item out the airport that needs to be done. So, which would help, also should help with our electric bill, because it'll be an LED light as opposed to what's out there currently. But
Can you tell them,
sorry.
The assistance that we get in putting this together and presenting it and making sure
Yes.
that it's proper, so that they know that it's not me that penned this on his first 5 minutes on the job.
No, it is not. Every 5 years, the airport group, the authority, has to go through an assessment to choose a certified engineer that is approved by MDOT Aero. So every 5 years you go through that. We'll be coming up to do that again here within the next year. Brian Newhoff is our certified engineer for the Gratiot Community Airport. Currently, we work with one of their engineers every year to put this plan together in conjunction with MDOT Aero. If there's items that we want to do, and obviously the engineer is going to listen to us and get them on there, get us quotes, what's going to cost to do this for design and then build out. But if MDOT's not going to support it, then it's not really worth trying to throw that up and trying to find the right year to put it in. For instance, our tanks that are working on right now, revenue generating, anything revenue generating, MDOT Aero likes to push down. It's not a higher priority for them. So we work really closely with that engineer to put that together, and they'll be on our meeting when we meet with MDOT Aero to go through this. To certify that and finalize that for the next year. Every year this is looked at. So if a year down the road, the authority says, gosh, we have an opportunity to move up the taxi lane rehabilitation project, you can do that, relook at that, and it isn't fixed for a 5 or 10 year period for you. So, and it's like we talked about before, this is a good deal from a standpoint of costs have gone way up, but the capital is covered basically about 95% by the federal government, 2.5 and 2.5 the state and local. So
The same engineer was going to do some research to see about submitting a grant application with us for the terminal program.
yep, and that's up there in 2024. Your very first one up there is looking at terminal building, rehab and expansion construction. We'll know more after the meeting in October, but his feeling was if we go into the point of doing a study to then request the funding from the federal government, we'll need to have that study to do that. So that's not cheap. You know, you're talking $20,000 to $30,000 to do that. You need that. But his expression to us was once you go down that path, you really kind of have to keep going. Once you get that money, you can't get kind of just say, okay, we're not going to do this terminal now. Once the bids come back in and, oh gosh, that's $4 million instead of, we thought it was only gonna be $2 million, that sort of thing. So that was one thing that he did bring up, and we'll be talking to Arrow about that too. When
Go ahead.
We can decide to not go forward with the terminal. We just don't get reimbursed from the state or the feds. Then we have to fork over the 20 to 25,000 instead.
Well, once you lock into something like that, and you say we're gonna build, I don't know, 10,000 square foot terminal. And really, if it comes in way over budget, I mean, can you reduce that back down to a 6,000 square foot? I'm not sure about the numbers, but.
That's the question we're gonna ask and find out, because that's like a very good question. I mean, yeah, we're looking at that 10,000.
It's 10,000.
And it's like,
A million, you really can be at two.
yeah,
We could go 6.
and we
Whatever.
reduce that. Or are you locked in? Because a lot of these things that you do, it's kind of like, no,
Said you want.
yeah, here you are. Yeah, you said you wanted 10,000, you put up for bid, you went through all the study. And, that happened to me.
Study, can you say you want to be in, you need to be in the $2 million? That's the number.
And
People are doing the study to tell you how big a building you get. Well, something like that work for you for 2 million versus get stuck with a $4 million.
you know, that's what a question,
Yeah.
because if we can try to, once you get the bids in, then ask for an amendment saying, hey, this is what we can afford to do.
Yeah.
And we'd be happy with that because it does this for us. It meets our goals, what we talked about in our study of what we want to do. Hopefully that's the case. But I don't want to put this authority or any of us into the point where it's like, gosh, we locked into something where.
Yeah, the goal would be really not concerned about getting your money back for your study. The goal would be to build something, that you can afford. And if, I would think. Right. And who will these folks be meeting with, the authority, or will they be with just a few people, or?
It's open to anyone on the authority would like to join. We're having a Zoom meeting. That's how I'd like to do that. So we can send the link out to anybody on the authority board that'd like to sit in on it is.
That'd be interesting to do that. So
we used to, just before COVID, go down to aeronautics at the Lansing Lansing Capital Airport. And we'd meet with the environmental folks would be there. The ALP, which is the airport layout plan folks would be there. The tall structure folks would be there. And of course, then the grant folks, and you go through all your different items on the checklist. So now they're doing it by remote Zoom. It's easier for them, and we don't have to travel to Lansing either. So, but we can do that. I'm sure Chris can get that out. And that's in October. I want to say this 16th is sticking out, but it's mid-October for that meeting.
16th is a Saturday.
Okay, then it's not the 16th. Then. It's at mid-October.
I know because my grandson's getting married that day. That's stuck in my head.
It'd be like the 12th then, or 11th or 12th.
What was the engineer's name again?
John. The engineering firm is Prime and Newhoff, and John, his name is real close to the name of the firm. It's not
Newhoff.
No, it's not. I'll get it for you. I apologize. But the engineering name is Prime and Newhoff.
When we're talking about people.
So John Van Dunen.
Yes, there you go.
What's his name? I didn't hear.
Van Dunen.
Van Dunen.
And it will be October 18th at 10 a.m. is when it's scheduled for.
Okay.
Somebody could send that link out to everybody. They could log in then from wherever you're at.
Yep, it looks like they set up a Microsoft Teams meeting versus a Zoom, and I will send that to
October, what did you say?
October. It's Wednesday, October 18th at 10 a.m.
One other question about the airport, and this is just for me. I was buzzing around out there the other day in my car, but are the tanks underground? The new ones are gonna be on this, are they gonna be like on a saddle or something above?
Yeah, they'll be on the saddles.
It looked like some saddles were put there, and
That's what the retaining area is for. Yeah.
yeah, that didn't seem very high, the retaining area, but maybe you're gonna build it up. The retaining area didn't seem very high, but
There's no retaining, they're double wall tanks.
I see.
Yes.
Yeah, because I can say it's just probably that high up on the ground. There's like some saddles in there, and I thought, well, maybe they're under.
8.5 feet long, so 10 foot high, double wall.
I see.
See, that's why you don't have to have a.
They're not fire guard tanks, which means they have concrete in between them. Two tanks are just steel tanks. Half inch apart, two tanks.
Not just for me, I just thought they're buzzing around. the other day.
Yeah. I'm anxious to get those things installed and operational. So we can get those other ones out of there too, so.
Need to get them. So
Yeah.
get them installed.
Mhm.
Anything else?
Two things that I would like to do shortly too is also to bring out Matt Hewitt IT, bring him out there to get him up to date and what it looks like, and also Tony Miller.
Yeah.
Tony Miller out there, if we could walk the grounds with him so that he can kind of get his feet wet, what he's up against and things like that. So
And that'd be good to have IT out there because we just finally have,
You got some feet up there.
I've got business quality internet out there now, so. Which we've never had before.
so for the electrical work, is that something that's budgeted currently, or would that be something that would probably come from fund balance?
Should be coming from fund balance, Chris.
Well, you need a motion to pay this bill.
So move.
Who's supported to pay Jay Ranick Electric 747618 fund balance for the airport authority. Any questions? Favor, all in favor? Notes, motion carries. So this also by paying this, then that locks us into that rate, you said?
Yes.
You need them again tomorrow or something?
Yeah, this is what we're paying. What's on this quote is what we pay. Yep.
All right,
Would like to consider replacing the refrigerator since that is probably an unbudgeted expense also.
yeah, really, I mean, I just went and bought one for $400 $400.
Yeah, Wes, we're not looking for anything like a
Yeah.
double stainless steel or. But I just wanted to bring that up since it's something that we
Yeah,
didn't
well-
foresee.
Need to be replaced, so I would make a motion that we go ahead and replace that refrigerator.
Second it.
The motion is made to replace the refrigerator out there.
Yeah.
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're gonna buy it somewhere. I try to get locally. Anybody sells, who sells refrigerators, right?
And we're not looking for even a commercial grade. What's been out there is something you see.
Yeah, it's the,
In their kitchen, so.
yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. Probably from the 1970s, probably 80s, so, thank you.
All righty. Anything else with the airport? Anything you want to say something?
Well, I just have.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
We got time.
Here's just threw together.
I wasn't there on a weekend the other day. It's just curious. Okay.
Yep. I'll just give you a quick update. My name's Dennis McDonald, excuse me. Well, I just started out here just kind of an August activity. We sold 1,706 gallons of 100 low lead. There was 91 tickets that we had to do on that compared to 1,637 a year ago with 95 tickets. Jet A sales this month was extremely high, 9,500 gallons for 12 tickets compared to 6,700 gallons last month or a year ago with 9 tickets. That's most of that's all crop dusters buying Jet A to put on fungicide for black tar and corn. So that's not a reoccurring thing. I mean, it won't be next month. They might have some Jet A purchases, but most of that happens in August of each year. Airport inspection. We're scheduled to have the airport inspected. The tentative schedule is the week of September 18th. Weather permitting, they were supposed to come this week. But with the weather being rainy and stuff, they've pushed it back September 18th.
Runway and ramp painting and crack sealing. That's a project that we work with Michigan MDOT on that. That happens every 3 years. The contractor that's scheduled to do that work is now working on the Upper Peninsula, trying to get northern counties and airports done. 3 years ago, they came late in the season. And a lot of that tar didn't flow very well. So depending on the weather, that project may get moved to 2024. We were not very happy with it 3 years ago because it was done so late, didn't go down the cracks. As soon as we did snow plowing, it all got thrown off into the grass area. So problem was with this project was they just got the funding last month. So money coming in from the federal government. So they were scheduled supposed to do it earlier in the year. But they just got the money. So now they're working contractors in the UP.
For crack sealing, that's something that the state of Michigan contracts with the specific contractor. And
Well,
all the airports, is that right? Or are you responsible for?
well, just the ones that are opt into the program.
Okay.
It's every 3 years. Some airports aren't part of that program. So every 3 years, they come around, they ask us how many feet we have. We go out, we measure, provide input to the engineering firm. They submit the stuff, the bid comes back. It's entitlement money is involved in it. There are some airports that don't do it because the contractor will come and they get 3/4 of the way through and they say, oh, you've used your allowed feet. They won't finish. So we'll see how this goes. 3 years ago, like I said, they come so late in the season. It was very cold and for that stuff to flow well, it has to be hot. And we did a bunch of masking, which has to be at 400 degrees. So it melts in with the asphalt. So if it gets too late, it gets cold. I told them we don't want to, I'm just my personal opinion. If it doesn't go into the cracks and we just peel it off and throws it into the grass, and then we got to turn around, pick it all up. So it doesn't, so we'll see. They're aware that weather is a bigger issue than what they thought about in the past. So we'll see on that. But we do need all the things need to be repainted. Cracks need to be filled. So whether we ends up being this year or spring, ideally it'd be better if it was this fall, but we're part of that group. I don't know where we're at in the list or in the UP now. I just talked to her today, so to get an update. Present maintenance items, you guys did talk about the PAPI lights on runway 9. I didn't know, did that include runway lights or runway lights 1836 are out, wait for that board?
That design, that's just patties. These are just patties.
Okay, so we don't have a price estimate on that yet. They've been out for, I'd have to go look. When I say runway lights, these are lights that you can remotely turn on at night so airplanes can land up through 1836. The board actually went out on 927, but they're identical boards, so we had to move the board from 1836 over to 927 because that's our main runway.
So these boards difficult to get, or how's that?
Well, it's probably like everything else. Yes, it must be because they've been out for
I assume you ordered
months
it.
or so.
I assume you ordered it when it went out, so.
Well, yeah, it's through Jay Wrinkle.
Yeah.
So have you got an estimate of when that, or I haven't heard any update on it, so. So terminal air conditioners out, city's been out, and looked at it. We're waiting for an outside contractor to come check it out. It's usually it gets a little low on Freon, so they come and make that adjustment.
Terminal refrigerator, we just talked about that. That happened on August 20th. The roof between corporate hangar 2 and corporate hangar 3 on the north side needs to be replaced. I don't know where they're at on those bids. Okay, we're waiting for a couple bids on that. I haven't seen anybody out to look at the roof. But that's just a small. It's over that office on the north side there. Maybe it's
If it's a small job, you might have a hard time finding somebody to do it.
yeah, it's 15 by maybe 30.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, it's a flat roof. That we didn't realize it was leaking, but we have alarm systems in that facility. And
That wet.
the motion detector picked up when the roof dropped or part of it dropped. So that's how we figured out that. Anyway, fuel farm update. I have nothing to report. Last activity on that was June 22nd when they finished the concrete and bored the underground thing. Sparling initially was scheduled to install those on July 10th. Tanks that was moved to last week, but no one showed last week. So John, he's going to get a new update. See when that's going to happen. So I'm anticipating it probably won't happen until later in September because they have to build the cabinets. I'm pretty sure the tanks are done, but I don't think they want to deliver the tanks and bring a crane in because they weigh 22,000 pounds to set those tanks without using the crane to set the cabinets because they'll probably weigh a couple thousand
Cabinets
pounds.
are coming somewhere else, or
Pardon?
the cabinets are like being manufactured somewhere else, or
They're being manufactured by Sparling Corp down in Taylor, Michigan.
Okay.
So they're the Grand River Construction is the general, Sparling Corporation is the tank people. So so they're building the cabinets that have all the equipment and all the filtration system and the reels. So I don't know where we're at on that. I was there on July 29th and they had barely started on the cabinets and they said they were going to take 45 days. So, but I don't know if that's wholly correctly or not. So that would tell me middle of September. But they might surprise me and bring the tanks, but they don't have the cabinets that don't really do much good. So, and then they still gotta manufacture all the plumbing and stuff all that stuff that goes with it. So EEA chapter 134, we got our fly-in on August 20 or September 23rd from 11 to 2. Shepherd Bar and Restaurant will be catering the event. There's a flyer on here for you. Everybody's invited to come to that. It'll be, we normally have this in August, but we moved it back to the 23rd of September with the idea that the fuel farm would be done because that was our initial time frame. And we thought we could have an open house and some things with that, but we're moving ahead with the fly-in. And I'm pretty sure it won't be done. It might be October, November, the way things are going. So we're still, last I knew, they were still waiting on meters for the fuel farm for those cabinets. So anyway, so yeah, Shepherd Bar and Grill is going to cater it. It's going to be their award-winning chili. We're going to have there's going to be cornbread. There's going to be mac and cheese. They're going to custom make cheese sandwiches. There'll be fruit, drinks, and other. So chapter isn't trying to make money on it. It's just a community event. We'll have probably some cars for the car meet, and well, the weather cooperates. We'll probably have quite a few airplanes there. So. So it all depends on weather. I mean, we do have drive-in people. The weather's bad. So we'll just have to see. So I don't know if you get any other questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Did you get a copy? Oh,
All righty, anything else about the airport? Okay, so we'll need to move on.
Motion to resume our regular meeting.
Or
Who's for to go back into regular session, regular meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we're back into the regular meeting. Any additional public comments or board comments? Okay,
I wasn't going to give any public comment, but something Commissioner Bunting brought up earlier spurred my interest. So the homeless, Jan, that you're seeing, do you have specific areas, places that my guys can check for these, whether it's in the city, village, townships?
I see a lot of them on 46. I've seen, especially this last week, I've seen several guys. They're usually by themselves, but they were walking on 46, like going into St. Louis. One I saw right there, right there by the across from McDonald's in that area. And I mean, they just got something around them. They're walking. I do think there's several staying in the park though, too.
Well, what I think you're seeing is the Hope House has to evacuate for a certain amount of hours per day. You're probably seeing them leaving the Hope House if it's on 46 and going into St. Louis, and then they can return there back at a certain day. But I would be interested if that's happening, that it's reported to the authorities so we can find this out, because we don't want them running around out in the winter and dying, and then we have to investigate that.
And also I've seen a lot of, I don't know if they're illegal immigrants or not, but I've seen like there was a group of 4 and they were on 46 walking into town. That was this last week. It just seems like, in the morning I get up usually I'm working someplace, and I just noticed that all of a sudden I think, wow, there's a lot of people, a lot of guys. It seem to be guys that are walking around with backpacks and.
Well, I don't know. They got the super fun project going out there on 46 too. I don't know if that could be part of it or not, but obviously if we got people walking around with blankets, that's something that law enforcement needs to be made aware of.
I
Immediately.
know that one of them, that we had one, it's been a few months ago, that was sleeping down by the bridge because a lady I know saw him. She was on her way to work and she stopped to see if maybe she could give him some money, but he didn't answer her. So she got back in her car and left.
Yeah. What I'm getting at is if you see him specifically, please report it. Okay.
thanks, Mike. Anything else? Any other public comment? We need a motion to go into closed session for union contracts.
I have to go over the budget.
What's that?
Want to go over budget
Oh,
information.
you want to go over budget?
Yeah, you want to do the budget.
I put that, we already been behind that again. didn't we? Okay, we're gonna listen to Chris here.
Okay, all right, so in 2 weeks is our public hearing to accept the fiscal year 2024 budget. But I'm going to go over with you today, and I handed this out, and it has been added to the extras online, and I'll pull it up on the TV as we go. We gave you 3 documents, an updated Gratiot County Capital Improvement 5-year plan, an updated general fund budget summary, and behind it, an attached general fund analysis. And behind that, the general fund detail for each budget. And then the last document that we'll go, or that we'll take a look at is the projected fund balances for all special revenue and debt funds. So I want to show you, we've gone over the capital projects listing once already. But I have made a few changes due to some issues that that have come up since then. If you give me a second, I'm going to try and zoom in on this a little bit. So the highlighted items have been added, and all 4 of these projects are within the courthouse. The first one is labeled drainage by the supply room. Down the hall here, we used to have some issues with water leaking in through the windows. And we thought we had fixed that problem. But what actually happened is we diverted the water to a different place, and now it is seeping into a different place in the courthouse. And it is also destroying the plaster in our supply room. So Tony and I sat down and took a look at it, and we decided that the best way to do is to bring in somebody to professionally tile that area to start pulling the water away from there. The second item here is a tree replacement program. And as some of our audience members know, if you don't stay on top of tree replacement, it can become very expensive. We had Carmen's came and walked our grounds and kindly pointed out that we have 6 diseased trees that are just going to get worse and continue to rot and threaten the healthy trees that are on our campus here. So we would like to try and address that here coming once it freezes up and we can start driving on the lawn and not worry about mud ruts. The third highlighted item is a water pump boiler, and that is in our boiler room. If you were to walk back there, you will see that the cement is always wet and there is a trickle that goes from this pump to a drain. We've replaced the cold water pump this year, and we would like to replace the hot water pump that is leaking next year. Surprisingly, looking at this machine, I thought it would cost a lot more than $6,000, but we had just recently replaced one. The last item is a third floor structural issue. This is in the Register of Deeds. I actually took some pictures of some of these things that I want to show you why this is important to do. Underneath the fireplace in the Register of Deeds, there is a bunch of water and heat ducts that are going through a structural wall. And it looks like back in the 70s or 80s, somebody just punched a whole bunch of holes in this wall to run the ducts through. And it has actually dropped the floor in the corner of the Register of Deeds.
And one of these days, the fireplace will disappear.
Yes, thank you, George. You did go around one day and take a look at some of these with me. So here, this first picture that I pulled up, that is the beautiful fireplace that is in the Register of Deeds office. The second picture here, you see the gap there between the pillar.
Look at the post, the wooden post.
How far the floor has actually dropped up there.
Wow.
Here is a picture of the ceiling underneath it, and you see on the left side, all the holes were punched for the pipes there. Also, whatever that patch job is right there is probably the main culprit. What we would need to do is we would have to remove the plaster, the cement on the ceiling to the point where we could get some jacks, some pulls up in there to lift it back up. And unfortunately, we're afraid that we're going to find asbestos when we do get into there. So that's why we expect it to be more of an expensive job, more expensive than it will be anticipated. Here's a picture of some of the common plaster leaks that we have from the outside. Now, when we go through, if you were to peel a piece of that plaster off, it would actually be wet. You can feel the moisture in it. So we're going to need to tile around several areas of the courthouse to alleviate that. This I haven't even considered budgeting yet, but what we're looking at here is the floor around the rotunda on the fourth floor by the circuit court. And all of these cracks are from the fourth floor settling. Now, that does not mean that there is a safety issue, but it does need to be looked at structurally. We may need to consider bringing in supports around the rotunda areas because when that was built, back in 1900, I'm assuming that building codes have changed a little bit since then. So this is something that we're going to need to look at within the next 3 or 4 years. And once we do get a level floor up there, we would want to look to replacing some of these porcelain tiles. And the last photo here, this is the German administrator and board of commissioner chairman who visited the bell tower earlier today. So those are the changes that I added to the capital project improvement plan. So you're gonna want to know if we can afford to do all that. Our general fund expenditures for capital improvements is up to $714,000 next year. That is the highest that I have ever budgeted for that. When we do a lot of capital projects, I'd like to keep it about a $500,000 level. And I'm more comfortable at $350,000. But we are in a unique situation next year with the price or with the real estate values topping out at 5%. That we will be able to afford this in our general fund. So next, I'm going to go over page 2 of the general fund, or page 3 of the general fund packet. So the general fund packet looks like this. This is the general fund packet. Okay, so it's right here. And the third page in there, it's actually a second sheet of paper, is an analysis of what we are seeing in our budget for the general fund this year. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull that up, share it on our screen. So it's very top. We are looking at suggested budget highlighted for 2023, 2024. Our expenditures at 15.2 million, revenues at 16.1 million with a surplus of $900,000. Comparing this year's stats to last year's stats, revenues up from 14.8 million to 16.1. Real estate tax collection up from 6 million to 6.34 million. Our personal property tax is actually going to go down. One of the main driver of our personal property taxes is our turbines. So the depreciation scale is catching up with the tax collection. So we're going from 3.3 million down to 3.1. For our expenditures, it's important to note that there are some increase in wages that are not yet budgeted, namely the road deputies and corrections officers union have not yet settled with the county. And it's possible that could push on beyond when we are going to approve a budget. So we may need to come back after the fiscal year and amend our budgets for those salaries. And also, we have not addressed the salaries of the elected officials yet. If you'll remember, I've always said that we try to keep our salary budget between 57 and 62% of what our revenue for the year is. When I first took this job, that was one of the things that I did is I studied where healthy counties sat at with their salaries. So we had an idea of what range we needed to stay in to be able to move forward and not get ourselves into financial trouble. So without the raises that haven't been factored in yet, we are sitting at 57% at the bottom of the band. Our MERS contribution has gone up $200,000 next year from this current year. That is related directly to the pension. And that is because the actuary report has us at 91% funded, a drop from 96% funded. And that was just due to the timing in the markets when they captured our value of our assets in our pension fund. The market was at a low, almost a 5-year low at that point. So I do believe we have jumped back up to the 96, 97 percentile right now. So while that looks bad at the moment, we are okay right now, and it will not hurt us to put some additional money in there. Does anybody have any questions on the general fund analysis? So that's probably going to be the easiest spreadsheet that I have presented here that you may see something that will stick out to you that you might want to ask a question about.
As you say, the windmill, the personal property is going down, but we're going to put 21 or 26 more on. It'll be up and running next year when they do the appraisals in December. Those will be running by them, all the new stuff coming down. That's not on this. So we should go up next year. And then everything will start coming down. We should top out next year.
When I budget, I pull the tax forecast from equalization report that Keegan puts together and presents to you somewhere around April of each year. And he does not predict what new tax collections will be. He only projects it out based on what is currently existing. So the turbines that you are talking about are not included in this tax revenue projection. So yes, there will be a little bit more, there will be more collection than what this forecast calls for.
And we'll top out next year. I think that'll be it. And unless it comes to solar, but with turbines, I think we're going to be done and they'll start coming down.
Right. So currently 1/3 of our tax collection comes from turbines. So 1/3 of our tax base is going to depreciate each year. In order to break even on tax collections from one year to another, we need a 3.25% increase in real estate tax collections to offset the decrease that we see each year in turbines. So that's why, because we have a 5% increase coming up for real estate, that's why we're seeing a slight increase in overall tax collections.
That was just the state set that number at 5%. And they
The state, well,
set the rate at 5%.
real estate appreciated higher than 5%, but the state, the state caps
Headley cap.
increase a home at 5%.
Chris, how many wind turbines do we have going on this next year?
I don't have that number.
I think it's like 20, it was like 26 or something.
26 wind turbines?
72 being built.
Pardon?
72 being built.
72.
Yeah, there's 72 currently on, and down there, 72 of them.
72 is still in between here and Carson City. They were like 15 away from putting the last one out. But they won't be operational probably this year, even though.
Oh, they'll be first of the year, they'll be in.
The 72 between where, did you say?
Well, between Alma and Carson City.
Alma and Carson City. What about the ones that are down here, going in on, so Washington? Yeah, there's a bunch of them going in,
Johnson, I think.
I'm trying to think of the name of the state, on State Road. If you go down State Road, there's a bunch on both sides. What
Yeah,
about,
that's the new wind farm. Started in Newark Township.
how many's going in there? I mean, how,
That's a total of seven, what he's talking about. It's a total of 72. Consumers Energy. A total of 72. And that'll be all of the windmills that Gratiot County will get.
what would that make the total?
So 435,
100, yeah, close to 435.
So one additional important thing to a difference between last year's budget and this year's budget. I just want to point out that there is that $900,000 surplus. But also worked in this budget was the transfer of the surplus from the delinquent tax fund to the general fund. And we need to talk about if that is something that this board wants to do, or if this board wants to leave that declared surplus in the delinquent tax fund.
I think it would be wise for us to take a portion of that out and put it in the general fund. What would you?
Does anybody have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to a couple counties and they were around 1.6, 1.75, they're right in that area, what they have. They operate on. And I think we're what, 2.5, 2.6.
Now, if that was something that you wanted to pursue, I would recommend that once that was done, that we would put that into a reserve for specific capital projects that, for instance, the fourth floor that is starting to.
Right. And any other unforeseen, we're starting to see a lot of wear in the older building because it really hasn't been kept up, but like we'd like to. And I'm always the one that if you have taxpayers' dollars and you can see your way clear to fixing things to make sure that you don't have to spend a ton of money on the other end, keep it going. That's why we have capital improvement projects. We keep those things up to date. And walking around the building and you can notice things that are, well, one day that's going to have to be taken care of. One day this is going to have to be taken care of. Well, one day is coming, I think. We got a lot of, I was down in the equalization department this morning, which will be the new permits department. And Deandra was in there scraping walls. The plaster's terrible on the outside walls. It's bad.
One of those pictures was from in there.
Yeah, that's bad. So. And then if you go up in the rotunda and take a look around, you can see where everything's starting to. Well, over time, things need to be repaired. That's going to be a big expense. The taxpayers back in, I can't remember when it was, back in the early 70s, decided that they wanted to keep the old courthouse. So it's cost of that.
Well, I would suspect that at some point in time in the future, we'll have pillars that'll be in that rotunda area on each floor that'll help stabilize.
Well, that's what I say, that's up to the restoration people because that is a national registry. It's under registry, so you can't do anything without their permission. But we do have some expenses coming.
So I wanted to just point out a couple items and talk about in the general fund. Just a few changes outside of what we had talked about. Veterans counselor, it's on the second page of the summary, 101,682. There's an increase in $15,000 in the veterans counselor fund. And that is to bring in somebody part-time to help train for an employee that has worked here for a very long time to replace that employee, to give them a little bit of backup for that. And our insurance has jumped up significantly, almost $50,000. Largely due to the fact that we depleted a lot of funds in our self-insured account due to the lightning strike at the health department. And real quick, the insurance company did approve to have that second HVAC system replaced out there. That was done several weeks ago, and I had never updated you on that, but I knew that that was something that you were interested in hearing about too.
Those funds actually were received also from.
Very good. Moving on to the special revenue fund summary. I'm gonna go ahead.
Real quick, how do we go about moving some money out of that delinquent fund to set a rate or whatever?
Well, I would sit down and I would talk to Terry about that. There is a declared surplus, and the policy talks about 50% can be moved at the beginning of the fiscal year and 50% can be moved after settlement is completed.
It doesn't say that. Policy says 50% at the first beginning of fiscal year and the other 50% throughout the fiscal year at my discretion.
Okay.
Did you set the rate that we want to keep for?
If it is something other than the declared surplus, yes, you would need to set that amount.
So would you like a motion that we?
Well, why don't we talk about, we could do it at the finance. The next meeting.
We're getting right down to where we gotta vote on the budget here at the end of the month. Next meeting, we gotta vote on the budget, so these things have gotta be.
Right, we would want to adopt the budget before the finance meeting.
Right. So I think what you said, you had mentioned 1.6.
1.75, yeah.
1.75. Well, then I make a motion that we pull out 1.75.
No, we leave it at one, we leave, take everything over 1.7.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm,
Leave 1.7.
yeah, you're right,
Well, I do not believe that we are able to change what our policy currently is.
With the policy.
I don't remember what the policy is, but the policy says that the treasurer would declare what the surplus is,
Which I gave you.
which she did. And
By the way, what about our audit? What's happening with that?
Let's figure it out here first, real quick.
$798,997.
So what's that keep in there? I mean, as far as not the dollars, but the rate.
It was 2.25.
I think that's fair.
Variable that was used. Per policy.
You kept 2.25 in there. So then we can't change the rate.
No,
Can we change the policy?
Wouldn't want to do that.
Well, yeah, we make the policy,
you can make you approve the policy, but the rate is set by the treasurer by law.
But we can't change the policy if you can set the rate. What will the policy do besides the rate?
Right.
I mean, say you want.
There isn't.
Rate set by the treasurer, so there's no really changing of the policy.
Right.
Policy is set by the treasurer, I mean, the rate's set by the treasurer. So I didn't hear what you just said. You don't have any, you don't. You've got some to pull or no?
Yeah.
I was
You
under.
kept 2.25.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about 7. What was it, 7?
That'd be about 700.
798.
Oh, okay, I'll guess 700. Yeah, all right.
50% of that
So let's pull well, we gotta vote on it first.
798, 977. 798, 977 is the number. We take half at the beginning.
Yeah. This year.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I would make a motion that we would take $798,777. And half of that at the beginning of the year, and half of that,
798, 977. 798, 977.
977, okay. 977. And half to be taken out at
997. I
9.
get this right.
Go get it. Go get it.
I'm gonna tell Angie.
798,
Show Angie.
977.
That's
And a half to be pulled out at the beginning of the fiscal year. Okay.
Or
move supported to and we're gonna put that in a special fund, or is just, that's just something you'll set up?
That goes to the general fund.
The general fund, okay. To remove
$798,997.
$797 out from delinquent tax fund. Any questions? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm just wondering, we're moving money around. Maybe we should have a roll call vote. Just to be safe.
You do that again. We'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens,
yes,
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Now, if I could, I'd like to just speak a few moments on our special revenue funds. Fund balance projection, revenues and expenditures. There are two funds that I did not get a chance to budget yet. The first one is the Indigent Defense Fund. We know that we have to transfer $86,000 from the general fund to fund that, and the rest of it will be paid by the state. The budget for that is completed and approved by the state, so it's just a matter of taking that and placing it into the format for our budget. And the Fringe Benefit Fund is the second one that I have not budgeted yet. It's just a more difficult one, and I chose to spend my time working on summarizing what I did have done instead of working on that. As far as things that I'd like to point out to you in this, number one, we're going to have to make some changes in our blight program. It's just picked up very quickly, and it is costing us a little bit more than what we're bringing in for it. So I've talked with several people about how we can restructure that, as far as even changing how we might enforce that going forward. It's running a deficit of just under $1,000 as is right now. By the end of the year, we'll make appropriate changes to it necessary. You will notice funds 516 and 517, delinquent tax revolving fund, and the tax sale fees. Everything going forward with the tax sale fees will now be recorded in the delinquent tax revolving fund. So you won't see the tax sale fee fund budgeted for the upcoming year. Outside of that, it's business as usual. We have a, where is this? Heartland escrow solar. I think it was our Heartland escrow, has gone over budget this year, so I'm gonna have to request a few more funds from them. They pay the legal and engineering fees for that project, and they run through the county, and the county pays the bills for them. So
They seem to add okay to the township, so they need more money, so.
Say what they're running a deficit right now, is what you said?
they are, yes, I think we've overspent in that fund, almost $1,000.
Oh, okay.
To make a phone call to them and let them.
Yeah.
I did get a call from they said I should expect a check from the solar house.
Oh,
So,
wonderful.
yeah, so
Never mind.
ask and you shall receive.
Take care of.
So all the detail behind each of those funds is in your packet. If you would like to take a look at it over the next week, if you'd like to come in and go over anything in particular, I'm happy to do that. The budget needs to be completed by Tuesday, 1 week from today. It needs to be posted online for 7 days, I believe, for the public to also view it before the public hearing. So we will have that online, and historically, we've had a hard copy in the clerk's office also. So that is my goal within the next week, to have the budget book completed. And I'll get to that to you as soon as it is completed also. There will be some minor changes that I still am taking suggestions and negotiating with the departments for the budgets that are here. So some of them may change a little bit, but materially, this is what it should look like for next year.
I did ask about the budget, or not the budget, the audit. What's that?
As Yo has a day or an afternoon available, they do reach out to us and work through some of the questions that they have. Currently, they are booked with clients through November. And typically, 1 day a week, they will reach out and work with Becky on 1 or 2 items. I've got 911 needs our financials too. Dave's online. He's been asking me for them so that he can get a loan. So there's a lot of pressure to make sure that is completed.
Yeah. Anything else, Chris?
No. Not at this time.
Any questions on any of this? All right, additional public comment? Anything else? We're gonna go into executive session or closed session.
Mr. Chairman, do we have to set a time for the next meeting to hold our public hearing on the budget?
We already did that. We set a resolution last meeting.
Did we last? Okay, very good.
Well, we need a motion to go into closed session.
So move.
We'll just support to go into closed session for contract talks. All in favor? Opposed?